Okay, so picture this. You're waking up, and I don't just mean, a normal groggy morning where you hit the snooze button a few times. I mean, your head feels like it's in a vice.
Oh, I know this feeling. The capital H hangover.
The worst kind. Your mouth tastes like a small, fuzzy animal crawled in there and passed away. You are just regrettably, undeniably hungover.
We've all been there. It is unfortunately a universal human experience.
It is. But here's where it gets weird. The first thing you hear isn't like birds chirping or your alarm. It's a buzz. And you open your eyes, and there is a floating, cat-sized robot just inches from your face. And this robot, his name is Roger, is politely informing you that one of your robotic honeybees, a little scout unit named Priscilla, has gone missing.
And you can't even complain properly.
You can't, because every single time you try to let out a curse word to express just how miserable you are, zap, you get a little electric shock.
Because of rule number 4, no swearing.
Exactly. Rule number 4. And that is the opening scene of the story we're getting into today. It sounds like a comedy, right? It sounds like a complete farce.
Totally. It sets you up for something light and funny.
But what we're about to unpack,
Yeah.
it spirals so quickly from that hangover joke into, I think, one of the most chilling deconstructions of modern warfare I've ever read.
It really is. The tonal whiplash is, I think, completely intentional. It gets laughing about the funny robot, and then it just slams you with the reality of the situation.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive.
Yeah.
Today, we are looking at Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman. Now, if you've heard the name Dinniman, you probably know him from his other huge series, Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Right, so you're expecting certain things. You're thinking lit RPG, stats, levels, maybe a dungeon or two.
And, I mean, some of those things are technically here.
Mm-hmm.
But they're twisted. This is not a story where you choose to go on a quest for adventure. This is a planetary invasion.
Yeah, this is a quest you are forced into.
But it's not just any invasion. And this is the core idea we really want to explore today. The war in this book, it's not really about territory or resources in the traditional sense. It's about the medium. For the invaders, it's literally a video game.
A pay-to-play, microtransaction-riddled first-person shooter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for our hungover protagonist, Oliver Lewis, and all the other farmers on the planet, New Sonora, it is a desperate fight for survival against an enemy that doesn't even see them as human.
They literally see them as NPCs, non-player characters. Just code to be deleted for points.
So our mission today is to really get into the gears of this thing. We're going to explore how the story uses that whole setup, the gamification of war, to critique that massive disconnect between the player in their comfy chair back on Earth.
And the person running for their life on a colony world. It's a concept that feels, disturbingly relevant today with things like drone strikes and remote combat. This just dials it all the way up to 11.
Yeah, it really does. So let's set the stage. I feel like we can't really grasp the stakes unless we understand the world. Tell us about New Sonora.
Right. New Sonora is such a fascinating setting because it's stuck in this gritty, awkward adolescence as a colony. It was settled over 200 years ago by 15-generation ships.
And the names of the ships are great, like the Hibisco and the Forlorn.
And the audios.
The audios. That tells you everything you need to know, right? Goodbye, we're done with Earth. This is a one-way trip.
Absolutely. It signals that finality. And the people living there now, like our guy Oliver, are the descendants of those original pioneers. But they're not living in some, sleek Star Trek utopia with replicators.
No, not at all.
Life is hard. It's farming, it's mud, it's dealing with equipment that's constantly breaking down, and it's a deep, deep sense of biological fragility.
Okay, we need to talk about that fragility. The book brings up this term a lot in the first few chapters, the orphan generation.
Yeah, that's crucial to understanding the social fabric of the whole planet. Oliver is 25, and almost everyone his age is effectively an orphan. There was an event they called the Sickness that wiped out the entire previous generation.
So his parents' generation.
Exactly. So the population is basically all very old people, the original settlers or their kids, and then this big group of 20-somethings like Oliver. There's almost no one in between, a huge generational gap.
And that wasn't just like bad luck, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just a random plague that happened to hit people in their 40s and 50s. There's a biological reason for it.
Yes, and it ties back to just how they survived on this planet in the first place. To even live on New Sonora, the settlers had to undergo what's called gene locking.
Yeah.
It's basically a suite of genetic modifications so their bodies could process the local nutrients, breathe the air, not get sick from the microbes. But it came with side effects, huge vulnerabilities. And most importantly for the society, sterility.
Sterility.
Wow. Yeah. For a long, long time, there were strict population controls in place. We learned that Oliver's generation was basically gene-locked to be sterile until the government finally gave the all-clear that the population was stable.
So for decades,
Yeah.
there were no children being born.
Zero. None. Which makes their whole society feel unbelievably precarious, you know? One bad virus, one failed harvest, and that's it. Humanity on New Sonora is gone. It creates this constant low-level anxiety that you can feel in all the characters.
And they're so isolated. I thought the way the book handled their communication with Earth was really interesting. The pinhole versus the transfer gate.
That distinction is huge because it explains their whole culture. It's why Oliver isn't just some, confused medieval farmer who's never seen technology.
Right.
For the last 50 years, they've had the pinhole. The book describes it as a microscopic wormhole. It only lets data through, not physical matter.
So they have the internet.
They have the internet. They have Earth movies, Earth news, Earth music. They know exactly what's happening back home. They are 100% culturally connected.
Which is why Oliver knows what a TUX is, why he has little plastic dinosaur toys, and why he's the drummer in a rock band. Culturally, he's basically a 21st century Earthling.
Culturally, yes. But physically, he's strapped. He knows about hamburger chains he can never go to. He listens to bands he'll never get to see live. But, and this is the big source of anxiety in the background when the book starts, the actual physical transfer gate has just opened.
But it's not like they're throwing a big welcome party and shaking hands.
Not at all. It's under a strict quarantine. No trade, no civilian travel, just official government ships going back and forth. So they're tantalizingly close to being reconnected with the rest of humanity, but they're still totally on their own. It's like staring through a window at a party you can't get into.
And on his own is pretty much exactly how Oliver feels. He's 25, he plays drums for a band called the Rhythm Mafia, he's a farmer, and he is just stuck. He's living on his grandfather's old farm, the Lewis Ranch, and he's basically being bullied by a robot.
We have to talk about Roger.
We absolutely have to talk about Roger. He's the best character.
He's this floating AI, the hive queen for all the farm bots, but he's only the size of a cat, and he was programmed by Oliver's grandfather, a guy named Edward Lewis, to function as a nanny system.
Which creates this completely ludicrous dynamic. You've got Oliver, a grown man, being treated like a naughty 5-year-old. Roger really only cares about two things.
Agricultural efficiency.
And smile statements.
And smile statements, yeah.
What even are smile statements?
Roger will literally give you a little shock if you're being rude or negative. He demands a positive attitude. He gives out digital gold stars and frowny faces. If you say something sarcastic, he might just zap you for it.
And the no swearing rule. Rule number 4.
And no swearing. It's this relic from a time when his grandfather was trying to raise these unruly kids on a really harsh frontier planet. But now, in the story, it serves as this perfect comedic foil to the absolute horror that's about to unfold.
It's just, Roger is zapping Oliver for saying damn, while they are literally being hunted by giant war machines.
It's such a brilliant writing choice, because if the story was just grim, dark survival, it would be almost too much to take. But having this polite, nagging, rule-obsessed robot in the mix makes the danger feel even more surreal. It just highlights how completely unprepared they are for what's coming.
Yeah. And it establishes the tech level, too. Roger is in charge of the honeybees. And we should clarify, these aren't insects.
No, they're agricultural robots. You've got the big ones, the drones, which are about the size of a large dog. They do the heavy lifting. Then you have the scouts.
Priscilla.
Yeah.
And Melissa and Trixie, too.
Right, the smaller, faster ones that can fly. And Oliver's sister, Lulu, gave them all these cutesy human names, which Roger, the AI, absolutely hates. He prefers numerical designation.
Of course he does.
But that little detail is so important. Oliver tries to call them Unit 418, but Lulu insists on calling them Priscilla. That act of naming them, of humanizing them, it foreshadows how important they're going to become later. It shows us that on New Sonora, you hold on to anything that feels like family, even if it's a piece of farm equipment.
Okay, so let's get to it. The inciting incident. That hangover morning. Roger wakes Oliver up because Priscilla, one of the flying scouts, is missing. She's just gone off the grid.
Right, and these bots, they don't just wander off. Roger mentions that he detected an unknown radio signal near her last position. Now, on a quarantine planet where all the tech is either local or government-controlled, an unknown signal is a massive red flag.
It shouldn't exist.
It shouldn't exist. But Oliver, he's hungover, he's annoyed, he's thinking about this big fight and breakup he had with his ex, Rosita, the night before. He just thinks it's a technical glitch.
So they head out to find her. They're trekking through the swamps past these plica bushes.
Which the book says smell like a lamb with a skin infection. Dinniman is just so good at those specific kind of gross sensory details. You can almost smell the rot and the humidity.
He really is. And that whole walk into the swamp,
Yeah.
it feels so mundane. It's just mud, bugs, a pounding headache. And that is when they find the monster.
This is the moment where the reality of the book just snaps in half. Because they come over this little hill and they don't see an alien creature or a government tank or anything they could possibly recognize. They see a giant bipedal mech.
And it's a mech that looks like it was designed by a 14-year-old with a Hot Topic credit card. Because as we find out, it basically was.
It's so jarring. It has this giant purple mohawk made of metal plates. It has crude genitalia drawn on its legs and what looks like spray paint. It's just stomping around looking for something to kill, and it looks so completely out of place in this natural, swampy landscape.
This is that glitch in reality we talked about. Oliver is, of course, terrified. He's looking at a death machine. But then he hears the pilot. And the pilot isn't inside the mech. It's a voice booming over an external loudspeaker.
And it's a kid. It's a petulant child named Hobie. His gamer tag is Exutum at nslay3rx.
Oh, my God.
And he is actively arguing with his mom.
The juxtaposition there is one of the most chilling things I've ever read. You have this kid, Hobie, screaming into his headset that the game is broken, that the graphics are glitchy, that he was promised a target-rich environment for his birthday.
While he is firing actual, real, high-explosive missiles at a living, breathing person.
That dialogue was just insane. Hobie's yelling, "You said it would be a target-rich environment. This is bullshit." You can hear his mom in the background faintly telling him to watch his language.
It's so horribly banal. It's a normal domestic squabble happening over an active murder attempt. It just instantly shows you how utterly safe and detached Hobie is. He's probably in a gaming chair in a suburb on Earth drinking a soda.
And think about the psychology there. To Hobie, Oliver isn't a person. He's an NPC. He's a subhuman, which is the slur they use for the colonists because of their genetic mods. It's a label that completely dehumanizes them.
It justifies the violence. It makes it guilt-free. He's not a person. He's just pixels. A target.
And when Roger, because Roger's amazing, intervenes, he doesn't use some secret laser cannon. He uses farm tactics. He tells a drone to cut a cable on a nearby tree, which then falls and trips the mech.
Which Hobie immediately interprets as a glitch. He thinks the game's physics engine is broken. He's screaming, "The stupid thing is broken. You're going to have to buy me a new one." He has no concept that he was just outsmarted by a nanny bot and a piece of rope. He thinks the software is just buggy.
But then the real reality check comes from the sky. This other sleeker ship swoops in, the book calls it a moderator, and just vaporizes the downed mech.
To prevent the game from looking bad, it's corporate damage control. They're cleaning up the glitches to protect the customer experience, but they're doing it with high-yield explosives. It shows you there's a higher power here, a company, watching and making sure the players are having a good time.
So Oliver, naturally, runs for his life. He gets back to the farm, terrified, and the place is suddenly full of people. The internet, or at least some kind of backdoor connection, is back up, and they're all crowded around a screen, figuring out what is actually happening.
And this is where we finally get the name for this whole nightmare, Operation Bounce House.
It sounds so innocent, so childish, like a birthday party.
Which is almost certainly the point. It's branding. We find out this whole thing is being run by a corporation called Apex Industries. The CEO is a guy named Eli Opal, a former video game executive.
And he's taken the freemium mobile game model and applied it to mercenary warfare.
Yeah, the details they find on the website are just nauseatingly plausible. They call it an eviction action. Not a war, not an invasion, an eviction.
It's such a sanitized corporate term.
And the business model is just, it's terrifyingly brilliant in a really dystopian way. The Earth government wants the colonists gone, evicted, but they don't want to spend the money or the political capital to send in the actual military.
So Apex steps in.
Apex steps in. They've created this platform where rich people on Earth can pay to remotely pilot these mechs and hunt the colonists for sport.
They're crowdsourcing genocide.
Exactly. You pay for the base model of your mech, you pay extra for ammo upgrades, you pay for a custom paint job. There's a little promo video they watch where a guy is adding a chainsaw arm and a missile pod like he's customizing a character in an RPG.
And there's a leaderboard, there are prizes, there's loot. It turns the act of murder into a dopamine-fueled game loop. And the mothership, the Pinnacle, which is in orbit, is basically a giant flying 3D printer. It just prints new mechs on demand and drops them onto the planet.
And the propaganda machine is just going full blast. On the Apex website, they're calling the farmers terrorists, and they're showing these slick CGI reenactments where the farmers are depicted as these heavily armed insurgents.
Which we, the reader, know is a complete lie. Oliver makes it very clear. They don't have guns. They're farmers. They have, like, shovels and scythes. The most dangerous piece of equipment they own is a combine harvester that keeps breaking down.
But the people back on Earth are either buying it or they just don't care. It's easier not to care when you're wearing a VR headset and chasing a high score. It's easier to believe the lie than to admit you're murdering innocent families for fun.
So the reaction on the ground at the farmhouse it's mixed. You have the older generation represented by their neighbor, Mr. Gonzalez, and he just can't process it. He thinks they can just hide, that it's all some horrible mistake.
It's pure denial, a psychological survival mechanism. He keeps saying, we just need to hide for 5 days because the website says the eviction action campaign lasts for 5 days. He thinks if he can just wait out the timer, he wins the game.
But Roger, the AI, just coldly shuts that down. He points out that if they hide, the mechs will just switch their sensors to thermal imaging. The game adapts. The difficulty will ramp up.
But the younger generation,
We get it.
they get it. Oliver's sister Lulu, his ex-girlfriend Rosita, his best friend Sam, they understand the reality of the situation immediately, especially Lulu.
Lulu is such a great character. She's Oliver's younger sister, but she is tough as nails. And she's a streamer.
Farm girl Gigi.
Right. She has this whole online persona, this sort of golly Mr. Farm Girl act that she uses to make money from subscribers on other colony planets. And because of that, she understands the internet culture that's fueling this invasion better than anyone else.
She knows that to the people watching this, to the players, this is just content. This is entertainment.
And that knowledge gives her this grim, determined pragmatism. While Oliver is still in shock, Lulu is already trying to figure out the rules of the game so that she can break them. She knows that every game has exploits. She knows the players are arrogant and easily distracted by shiny things.
And luckily for them, they have an ace up their sleeve they don't even know about yet. Grandpa Lewis.
The man who was always prepared, Roger, their nanny bot, suddenly reveals that there's a hidden protocol buried in his programming. Perimeter defense.
I loved this reveal so much. We spend the first part of the story thinking the honeybees are just these quirky, semi-sentient farm tools, but then Roger just drops the whole polite nanny act.
The no swearing rule is, well, it's not gone, but the priorities have definitely shifted.
The priorities have shifted. He reveals that the honeybees were always intended for dual use. They were designed for construction and defense. The grandfather knew somehow that this day would eventually come. He left a manual, he left instructions, he left a message. Remember, rule number 10.
And we don't know what Rule 10 is at this point, but it sounds incredibly ominous. But to even activate this defense protocol, they need supplies. Specifically, they need parts to fix Priscilla, the damaged scout, and more importantly, they need weapons.
So Roger organizes a mission, a supply run to the nearest town, Burnt Ends.
And this is where the adventuring party, for lack of a better term, assembles. You've got Oliver, the reluctant leader. You've got Lulu, the tech expert and strategist. Rosita, the documentarian. Sam, the best friend and moral compass. And the Serrano twins, Tito and Axel, who are, well, they're the muscle, but they're also musicians.
The Rhythm Mafia, that's their band.
Which is just perfect. It immediately tells you these aren't soldiers. They're a garage band. Their primary skill set involves keeping a beat, not squad-based tactics.
The journey to Burnt Ends, they're riding in these big, open-topped grain hoppers, and it gives the story a moment to breathe and really let us get inside the characters' heads. And this is where the story finds its real heart. It's not just about mechs fighting robots, it's about Sam.
Sam and his wife, Harriet, they're expecting a baby. And in this world, that's not just a happy event, it's a miracle.
Because of that sterility issue we talked about earlier.
Right.
For years, no one could have kids. Now, suddenly they can. There's a baby boom happening across the planet. So for Sam, the stakes aren't just his own life. It's the entire future of their people. That baby represents hope for the whole colony.
And there's that incredible moment in the truck where Sam confesses something to Oliver. It seems so small and trivial at first. He says, I have to tell you something. Years ago, I broke that vase in your hallway. It wasn't the cat, it was me.
But it's so profound in that moment. It's deathbed confession logic. He thinks he's about to die, and he needs to clear his ledger, even of the smallest, tiniest lies. It grounds all the sci-fi madness in this very real, very human anxiety. He's terrified he won't get to see his child be born. He just wants to be a good man before the end.
And then there's Rosita, the ex-girlfriend. They literally broke up the night before the invasion started.
Talk about terrible timing.
The absolute worst. But she insists on coming along, and she's filming everything. She has this little camera drone that just follows her everywhere, recording. Why is she so obsessed with filming all this?
I think it's about bearing witness. In a world where the official narrative is being controlled by this corporation that's calling you a terrorist, the simple act of recording the truth is an act of rebellion.
She wants proof.
She wants proof. She wants the universe to see them not as pixels or NPCs, but as people. She knows deep down that if they all die without a record, they'll just be deleted. History is written by victors unless you have a backup drive.
Which brings us to Burnt Ends. And man, the tonal shift here is like hitting a brick wall at 60 miles an hour.
It's necessary, though. It had to happen. Up to this point, we've had the absurdity of Hobie's mech, we've had the funny robot rules, but when they roll into Burnt Ends, all the comedy just evaporates.
The town is just destroyed, the water tower is gone, there's smoke everywhere, and then they find the bodies.
Behind the school, it's a massacre. And the book is absolutely unflinching in its description. These aren't just faceless casualties. These are their neighbors. They find Sheriff Jake.
And they find Henry.
Yeah, the toddler.
That part just broke me. Finding a 2-year-old boy's body in the field, still in his pajamas.
And you have to remember the context we talked about. Children are unbelievably rare and precious on New Sonora. There are maybe 50 kids on the entire peninsula, so finding Henry, it triggers this horrific realization for all the characters, the players back on Earth. They aren't just shooting at armed combatants.
They're chasing down toddlers.
They are killing children for points, for a high score.
It completely strips away any illusion that this is a clean war or just a game. This is a slaughter. It is wanton, pointless cruelty.
And it solidifies the group's resolve. Before this, you get the sense they might have considered running, hiding in the hills like Mr. Gonzalez wanted. But after seeing Henry, you can't run from that. You have to fight it. You have to stop the people who did this no matter what.
And Lulu and Rosita, they force themselves to film the bodies. It's a gruesome, horrible task, but they do it. They need that record.
It's a turning point for Oliver, too. You see him step up. He stops being the hungover, passive farm boy, and he starts acting like a commander. He has to. He realizes that Roger, for all his intelligence, is still just a program. Oliver has to be the one to provide the human will, the leadership.
So they push on to their objective, the hidden warehouse under the sombrero.
Which is such a great folksy name for a landmark. It's a hill that looks like a hat.
They find the secret elevator. Grandpa Lewis really did have secrets on top of secrets. They go down into this old civil defense bunker. And what they find there is, well, it's a treasure trove.
A very complicated one, though. They find a rhinobot, a massive bear-sized honeybee unit that's clearly a weapon. But they also find all these crates of supplies from the Hibisco, one of the original generation ships.
They find pulse rifles, Conquistador class.
Yeah.
And they find body armor. But Sam makes this really interesting point when he puts it on. He says it feels fake. It feels like a toy.
Which just keeps reinforcing that theme, doesn't it? Even the real weapons of war feel gamified. They're lightweight. They're made of plastic composites. It speaks to how sanitized and detached the act of violence has become.
There was one other detail in that bunker that really stuck with me. The crates that were marked New Colony Proliferation Kit.
The ones that had poison spray painted over the label.
Yes. What is that about?
This is a really deep lore cut that the book just kind of drops in there. Rosita mentions this old conspiracy theory, a rumor that the supplies Earth sent for the new generation, for the babies being born on the planet, were different. The theory is that maybe Earth wanted the colony to fail.
So the sterility.
Yeah.
It wasn't an accident of the atmosphere. It might have been a feature of the supplies they were sent.
That's the implication. that the sickness that wiped out their parents or the genetic problems they've been having might have been intentional manufacture.
That is so dark.
But it fits the pattern, doesn't it? If Earth wants the planet back for its resources, they need the settlers to die out. They just didn't expect them to last this long. So now with Apex, they're just speeding up the process. It suggests a conspiracy that goes back generations.
So the Rhythm Mafia, our little band of farmers and musicians, they gear up.
Mm-hmm.
And the visual is just absurd. You've got Axel and Tito, these two big guys, trying to squeeze into tactical armor. You have Lulu, who's like 4'10", refusing to wear a helmet because it's too big and keeps falling over her eyes.
And she ends up grabbing a grenade launcher because the pulse rifles are literally too long for her to hold properly. It is the most ragtag group you could ever imagine. It's the visual definition of desperate measures.
And right on cue, the enemy approaches.
Roger detects them. 4 mechs. And they are all converging on the warehouse.
And we get to meet the rest of the enemy squad. We already saw the one with the mohawk. Now we see one called Skeet Skeet and another one named Chode.
I still can't believe we're seriously analyzing a literary villain named Chode.
But that's the whole point, right? It's supposed to be ridiculous.
It absolutely is. It perfectly captures the profound immaturity of the enemy. These aren't soldiers. They're internet trolls who have been given weapons of mass destruction. Their names, their mech designs, they're covered in neon lights and these stupid bouncing signs on springs. It's all performative. It's all about mockery.
And Roger tells them they're currently live broadcasting.
Here, kitty, kitty, one of them shouts over the loudspeaker. They're playing to an audience. They aren't just here to kill. They're here to put on a show for their Twitch chat or whatever the equivalent is.
That makes it so much more sinister. They're trying to get cool clips for their highlight reel while they hunt and murder Oliver's friends.
But from a strategic perspective, it's also a weakness. Because they're arrogant, they're loud, they are literally covered in bright flashing lights. They aren't using cover or tactics. They are playing this like it's Call of Duty on the easiest difficulty setting. They have absolutely no respect for their opponents.
There's Oliver and Roger. They are playing for keeps. They know this is not a game.
And Roger immediately starts using the drones. He's flanking them. He's using the environment. The farmers, they know this terrain. They know the Sombrero Hill. They know where the good cover is in the woods. This is their backyard.
The scene is set up so perfectly. You have the mechs stomping up the hill toward the warehouse. The farmers are trapped inside, but they have a plan. Oliver sends Lulu and Rosita out a side door to get into the woods and set up a flank. He sends Tito and Axel to the other side.
It's a classic ambush. But you have to remember, they have never fired these guns before. They have no idea if the pulse rifles will even be able to penetrate the mech's armor. They're operating on pure, terrified adrenaline and Roger's cold calculations.
And that cliffhanger feeling is just palpable. You've got these massive, neon-colored war machines screaming insults and trolling them, stomping through the ruins of a town they just destroyed.
And on the other side, you have a drummer holding a rifle he doesn't know how to use, terrified out of his mind, but standing his ground anyway.
It's the ultimate underdog moment.
Yeah.
But it's so undercut by the tragedy of what they just saw. Even if they win this one fight, Burn Ends is gone. Henry is dead. The innocence of their isolated life is shattered forever. They can never go back to just being a band that plays on weekends.
So what does it all mean? What's the takeaway here? We have a story that makes you laugh out loud at a robot saying no swearing, and then 50 pages later makes you cry over a pair of cartoon pajamas in a field.
I think Operation Bounce House is using the framework of lit RPG, the stats, and the game mechanics to launch a really sharp critique of the desensitization of our culture. I mean, we talk about drone warfare and remote strikes in the real world all the time. This just takes that concept to its logical, satirical, and horrifying extreme.
It asks that really uncomfortable question. If you never have to look your enemy in the eye, if you can turn them into just pixels on a screen, is it still war? Or does it just become content?
And for the people on the receiving end, that distinction is meaningless. A missile is a missile, whether it was fired by a trained soldier or by a teenager who's trying to unlock a new cosmetic skin for his mech. The result is the same.
It's terrifying. And it makes you root for Oliver and the Rhythm Mafia so hard.
Yeah.
Because they aren't just fighting for their lives, they're fighting for their very humanity, quite literally.
They're asserting their right to exist in a universe that is trying its best to reduce them to NPCs. Every shot they fire is them shouting, "We are real."
I will definitely never look at a game over screen the same way again after reading this.
No, I don't think I will either. It really changes your perspective on what virtual violence actually means when it has real consequences.
Yeah.
All right, We're going to wrap it up there. This has been our deep dive into the chaotic, the heartbreaking, and the truly absurd world of Operation Bounce House.
A world where apparently the only thing more dangerous than an alien planet is a bored teenager with access to their parents' credit card.
Oof. That's a little too real. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Stay safe out there.
And remember, no swearing.
Rule number 4, always.
I'll see you next time.